Welcome back to Money Talks. I'm today's host, Mike Lomas. Mike Lomas, Clem Wiggle. We're the financial guys here with you each and every Tuesday. This is the place where money meets politics. We have a ton of fun with this show. We actually do manage money for a living Monday through Friday, but this is the place where money meets politics, and the show goes so quick. Thank you to WGRZ. We've been on a year. So it's hard to believe we've been on 1 year here every Tuesday, but having a blast, and appreciate WGRZ allowing us to do the show where money meets politics and allow us to have the freedom to express ourselves the way we feel fit. So today in studio with me, Mike Hayflick, certified Social Security claiming strategist and a business partner at the Financial Guys. Appreciate you spending some time with us.
Great to be here.
Holiday season, you got all your shopping done?
Yeah. Well, like your wife, my wife does all the shopping, which is great.
Yeah.
I have a couple people to shop for. Her. and a few others, but yes. It's been nice to see the snow, kind of be in reprieve for a little while.
Yeah.
Get a lot of those outdoor things done.
It's a-coming, yeah. This is why, by the way, I should not have coffee on the way here.
That's right.
I took a few notes before we left the office, and I stopped. Grab a cup of coffee, and unfortunately the coffee didn't end up all over me, which is...
I'm proud of you.
Yeah, but it did end up all over my notes. Tax reform.
Yeah,
let's start off there.
Big week.
Big week for, it's funny, the stock market's been doing pretty well in anticipation of tax reform.
Exactly.
I actually think it's sort of been doing well because they're actually maybe going to get something accomplished down in Washington, which is a shocker, really.
Yeah, a lot of us were always saying, oh my gosh, like what is it, 145, 150 days that they're in session, and people would say, gosh, that's like not very much that they're actually working.
Yeah.
What we always have a problem with is when they are in session, what little they get done.
Yeah.
Right? It's like when you're actually there.
We've often joked and said, just let them stay at home.
Yeah, please.
Things will do better.
Please, just stay home.
Just
don't do a thing.
Don't mess it up anymore.
So I don't want to cheer too much yet, but this is pretty big. This is big. I think the markets are certainly responding favorably to tax reform at any level. We weren't exactly pleased with everything, all the details, but now they'll go into conference, and hopefully they get something done before the 15th when they go into recess again.
Yeah.
But if they can get something done, boy, just think about the economy in 2018 and beyond.
We've been pretty critical of the Republican Party, deservedly so. I mean, I think they're a bunch of wimps, and there's some really good stuff in this, really good stuff. The corporate tax cuts, we need that. And it's amazing to me as I heard Elizabeth Warren this week, and she said, well, two things. They rushed it through. We didn't even I spent more time studying which refrigerator I was going to buy as opposed to being able to look at this. And I'd say, Elizabeth, what was the problem with Obama shoving a bunch of garbage down everybody's throats for 8 years, using his executive authority so nobody got to vote on it?
Nobody even
but then,
had that in their hands.
Her good old friend Nancy Pelosi has been on tape saying, well, we got to pass it so we know what's in it.
So
just fine.
Read what's in it after.
Just fine. That was just fine. Look, and I'm not saying I'm real happy with this tax proposal. I think the Republican Party has been totally useless in doing what we need them to do. I needed them to be really, really aggressive with this tax proposal. They were aggressive in one area, and that was corporate tax cuts, and that's it. That's it.
And they seem to want to overcomplicate things, don't they? Instead of just doing it across the board.
And they were not going to do that. Remember?
Yeah.
There was a postcard, remember?
Right. Go drop 2-3% every tax bracket, and that's it.
Yeah.
Leave everything else alone and see how that goes for a couple
Or how about 5 or 10%? I mean, you're talking about if you're in a state like New York and you're a high wage earner, and and of course all these people say, well, the high wage earners, they can pay their fair share. They're paying 50% of their money right now. And we see that. You and I have these business owners that say, I'm not going to expand anymore. I'm sick and tired of growing and losing half my money.
Right. And we've often talked about that. Business owners are some of the smartest people out there.
Yeah.
It takes a lot to do it. It takes a lot of courage, a lot of time. If you raise their taxes or don't lower their taxes, they're going to find other ways to make things work.
Yep.
They're not going to be in business to fail.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny, though, this week I continue to hear the Democrats talk about they're so worried about the debt.
Yes.
They're so worried about the deficit now. So worried. This is going to be a tragedy. This is going to cause massive amounts of debt.
What are we going to do, right?
You see, their buddy Obama ran up $20 trillion, and they never mentioned a word about debt. Never mentioned a word about deficits, could care less about it. Now we're actually going to return some money back to some people, and we're worried about the debt. We're worried about the deficit.
Exactly. Yeah. Now we're worried about the later generations, our kids and grandkids, right?
Yeah.
Well, and we know we can talk a little bit more about this, I know, but the real GDP growth under 3 for a record 10 years, starting from 2006 to 2015.
Yep.
So it wasn't all under President Obama, but coming out of that recession, there's just really no excuse.
Should have been explosive growth. Yeah.
Right.
All right, we got to take a quick break. Mike Lomas, Glen Wiggle Financial Guys. Mike Hayflick, certified Social Security claiming strategist, in with me today. And we're talking about a place where money meets politics. We'll end the show, by the way, with Brian Janik and Medicare. So 'tis the season, and it's wrapping up pretty quick. But we'll be back here on WGRZ. But when we come back, I definitely want to talk more about some of the waste in government, too. That's fun. We got a lot of it.
Some great examples here today.
Welcome back to Money Talks. I'm today's host, Mike Lomas, and we are the Financial Guys. Thank you, WGRZ, each and every Tuesday here from 11:30 to noon. This is the place where money meets politics. In studio with me, Mike Hayflick, certified Social Security claiming strategist, one of the heads of our retirement planning team and business partner. We were talking about tax reform before the break, talking about the Democrats really now worried about the debt, which is hilarious to me, right?
And it is almost like they take turns, right? It's always the other party that wants to worry about debt.
Yeah.
But once the other, the party in power starts doing something, that's when the opposition wants to reduce spending.
Absolutely.
Amazing, right? Yeah. They don't want to watch their budget. They don't want to worry about spending our money, our tax dollars. Except when the other party is in power.
Yeah, and I have to laugh at the Democrats, but look at the Republicans are just as responsible for this mess, right?
Yep.
You can't say the $20 trillion is just Democrats. The Republicans had the checkbook.
Absolutely.
And they continued to say, oh, Mr. Obama, here, whatever you want. Oh, we can't be blamed for shutting the government down.
Right.
Even though when we shut the government down, we won the midterm elections in a landslide, we can't do that again. We can't do that again.
The question will become, will the tax reform in and of itself be enough? Is that going to stimulate the economy? What do you think?
Well, I think tax cuts are great because, to me, tax cuts are the fastest way to stimulate economic growth because there's no government filter. It gives you money back. It'll give me money back. It'll give hardworking people, and I don't care where you work. If you're a widget maker, you're a teacher, you're a police officer, you're a CEO. If we put money in your pocket, you're going to spend it, I believe, more wisely than the
Undoubtedly,
government.
And we always tell our clients and prospective clients, we guarantee you that you will spend your money way better than any of the governments, whether it's the federal government, state, locals. We don't care.
Yeah.
You will absolutely spend your money way better.
But to your point, I think this is where I get frustrated is I hear Democrats and certain Republicans say, well, we can't cut the size of government. We can't cut anything. And that's a total joke.
No,
that is a total joke. You actually sent me some stuff. I said, Mike, let's talk a little bit about government waste. So you went on and tried to find some government waste.
Goodness.
Here is, by the way, these are pages and pages and pages of government waste. We'll just talk about a few of them.
This is
by the way, I had to stop the printer. Andrea in our office, I said, Andrea, can you do me a favor and cancel this for me?
Somehow.
Because it just continued to roll out.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of this. Because
some of these are...
there's nowhere that we can't find anything to cut.
Well, and one of the first
How about Social Security for chimpanzees?
Honestly, so and a lot of this is written very well and cleverly, but this is from Senator James Lankford. I believe he's out of Oklahoma. And he basically has done 3 versions of what he calls the federal fumbles. And this is just wasteful spending. It's our money being spent on the most amazingly dumb things.
Right.
And a lot of it is actually just negligence. So they're not paying attention to what's going on with the money once they dole it out.
Right.
Here's a great one, though. And God, we all love chimpanzees. I'd love a chimpanzee at home. I actually love chimpanzees more than I love some people. But let me just...
You're a chimpanzee fan.
I am. I'm a chimp fan.
Yeah, you're
There's
not
no
anti-chimpanzee.
So in 2012, the National Institute of Health said, you know what? Based on this advisory council, we're going to reduce the use of chimpanzees in research. That's a good idea.
All right.
Stop putting the chimps into these experiments,
Fair enough.
So what they said, though, was we're going to actually keep this kind of this shelter open for these chimpanzees. They haven't closed it yet. So what are they doing? They're spending about $2.6 million to take care of 139 chimpanzees. Now, that's about $18,700 per chimp per year. They could literally enroll in a state college for a lower amount of money than just being housed in some federal building.
Just put the chimpanzees at a private school, save some money.
Exactly.
I got a better one for you. There was a $35 million, right? $1 million of it went to study, to one person, went to study. He put himself in a room with bees, and he stung himself, and he was reporting back where the stings hurt the most. Wow. They paid him $1 million. Now, I don't know. I don't need to be a rocket scientist to tell you where I would get bit that would hurt me the most.
Might hurt the most.
Right. $1 million.
Does it take a study?
$1 million.
First of all, the guy might be nuts to want to just be stung.
Well, I'll tell you what, though, for $1 million, I mean, but I'll tell you what, I would have done it for a lot. We could find the people to tell you where bee stings are going to hurt the most on your body for a lot less than $1 million.
Yes.
We could take a quick break. We'll talk more about government waste, and we can blame the Democrats, Republicans. The tax cuts are great. We need to cut some of this garbage out of government as well. Mike Lomas, Glenn Wiggle, Financial Guys. We'll be back. Welcome back to WGRZ Money Talks. This is a place where money meets politics. Mike Lomas in studio with Mike Hayflick, and we were talking about tax reform today. We're going to end the show with Brian Janik, who's an expert in Medicare, an independent expert, talking about tax reform, tax cuts, how good it is to stimulate economic growth, giving people back their own money. I think, before the break, we were talking about some of the frustrations we're getting from Democrats now and Republicans about, we can't cut anything. There's nowhere to cut. This is going to be devastating to the economy. First of all, they're not talking about, the economic growth side of it. They always say, well, if we cut things, we're not going to factor in how that's going to stimulate growth, which, by the way, Ronald Reagan proved very successfully that tax cuts do work.
Absolutely.
If you look at the growth of the stock market and the S&P 500, it's done a lot better in times of taxes being cut and going down as opposed to going up. But the other side of this, so sick and tired of hearing there's nowhere we can cut, right? How about Obama phones? How about we start there? How about Obama phones? How about the massive amounts of welfare? But some of the stuff gets into it, ridiculous.
Yeah, in fact, Mike, in one of the stats I had written, real GDP grew by 3% or better in 1983 to 1989, 7 years of over 3% GDP, real GDP
giving
growth.
people back their own money as opposed to the government spending it.
Right. No doubt, though, the tax reforms got to be coupled with more prudent spending. Let's just say it, less spending, enough already, right? So much wasteful spending.
And by the way, for the liberals out there that say, well, you're blaming, I'm blaming both parties. The Republicans are in charge of the checkbook right now, and there's many Republicans. Corker was out last week saying, this is going to hurt us as deficits, debt. Cut some garbage out of it.
And
cut
even
some
in
garbage
this
out
bill,
of it.
There's a lot of pork.
Tons.
To get those votes, to get 51 senators, how much pork is put into this? And we won't find out until later. But and here's a couple more examples. Not to pick on the National Institute of Health, they do great work. But here's another one. We all would agree that many individuals, families, they often need help with public housing to get back on their feet, right? Temporary help. We need some assistance. That's all good. But what the NIH said was, let's spend $1.1 million, and we're going to sort of vary the amount of help we give families. So some families are going to get a little more help than others, and we're going to see what the impacts are.
So they studied the stress of how much or little money they're going to give
Let's
people.
see if certain people's well-being is higher or lower based on the amount of money we give them. I mean, now they're using not the chimps, but they're actually using people in their experiments, social experiments. This is outrageous. So
not the purpose of our government.
We could go one more. I have to share.
I got another one here too.
So now we all love a good party. Right, a good party. John Adams, not the John Adams president, but a famous American composer and conductor. The national government, in this case the Endowment for the Arts, National Endowment for the Arts, they said, let's go ahead and give $85,000 and we'll help the San Francisco Symphony celebrate John Adams' 70th birthday. So now we're using public dollars to celebrate a composer, but we, the taxpayers, are paying for this guy's birthday.
$85,000.
85 grand? party we could have with 85 grand, Mike.
Anybody in the federal government send money for your birthday party?
No one. No,
they didn't send it to mine.
Maybe I could get a grant. I have a big one coming next year.
I got a better one.
Maybe I do.
Out of the $35 million set aside in that project I was talking about before the break, part of that money was spent trying to figure out what makes goldfish sexy. I'm not kidding you. What makes goldfish sexy? The other part of it was, how many shakes does it take a dog to get unwet?
Oh my goodness!
I'm not kidding you.
Yeah,
I'm not kidding you.
And
they cannot find a dollar to cut. They cannot find a dollar to cut.
Isn't it? Bipartisan.
The tax cuts are going to destroy the economy. By the way, good for Donald Trump. By the way, he is using his executive authority to get rid of massive amounts of regulations. For the first time in 8-9 years, we are growing in excess of 3%. And make no mistake about it, it is getting rid of a lot of those regulations that have really frozen up the banks.
Sure.
Really, told business owners, hey, you didn't build this, I'm going to stop you. What Donald Trump is saying is, you know what, I got your back, go to work, and it's working.
The red light, the kind of cautionary yellow flashing light, it's become more of a green light to businesses.
Yeah.
Now they know that, hey, at least for the next 2 to 3 years, we could go ahead and do a few things.
Yeah. We're going to take a quick break. We come back, we'll talk a little bit of Medicare. If you're 65 plus, stay tuned. Brian Janik, expert and independent expert in Medicare, will be back.